Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Alan Barry Labucan from the Rocks and Stocks News website. We've got another in our series of executive interviews, and today we have Ewan Downie on the line. They had news out today, and that news was that they put together a comprehensive plan of all the work and sort of a outline of the work that they're going to get doing. And I'm pretty excited about what I hear. So Ewan, why don't you get into it?
Yeah, we've got a pretty aggressive program to grow our production down in Nevada. We're currently targeting building 4 mines over the next 3 years. That's 3 underground operations and 1 open pit that will ultimately feed a single processing facility. So the Lone Tree facility was acquired last year from Nevada Gold Mines, making our company one of only 3 in all of Nevada. In fact, I believe one of only 3 in all of the United States with the capability of processing refractory ore.
And Ewan, who are those 3? Who will those 3 be? Because I think it puts you in rarefied air.
Yeah, Nevada Gold Mines owns 3 of the facilities. That's the joint venture between Newmont and Barrick, the world's 2 largest gold producers. The other is owned by First Majestic, and then we own one of the 5 facilities in Nevada. And so we are embarking on our growth plan. We've got about $200 million in cash, so we're in good shape to advance our projects. And some investors have been saying, and some of the analysts, that it's a difficult story to understand. But I tell them it's much like what we did at Mercedes. We had a processing facility, our mine in Mexico in Premier. We had a processing facility, 3 declines fed that facility. And essentially, that's exactly what we're doing in Nevada, except we're doing it on a much larger scale in Nevada here with i-80. It's difficult to understand, okay, where are you with this project? Where are you with that project? So we tried to lay it out. Here's the things we need to deliver to be successful, and here's a scorecard. So as I mentioned before we started talking today, you can either put a check beside it as we do one out, or strike it off and say, okay, well, they pulled that one off. And it really helps us be accountable to our shareholders. We've put it out there early, and we need to make sure that we execute our plan this year. And it's something that we have a weekly management meeting. It'll be in every weekly management meeting, that scorecard, and we'll be discussing where are we in terms of this. Are we doing what we said? Are we behind? Are we ahead? And then we can gauge how we're performing. It'll help us gauge how we're performing every week.
Yeah, and I think it'll be really helpful for the investors because it's hard to wrap your head sometimes around all of the things. I mean, I watch you guys closely, so it's no problem for me. But for the average investor out there, you guys have so much on the go, from exploration, development, moving ahead with the processing plan. And a couple really good things that you emphasized was putting the team together for the operations as well as exploration. Because that's one thing I've always found about you and your team, Ewan, is that you're really good at growing things with the drill rig. So let's touch on some of those things.
Yeah, well, I think when we laid out that scorecard here in the press release, the number one thing we had was building a tier 1 management team. And I think that's critical in our being successful. It's good to have 2 or 3 good guys on your team, but when you're trying to build 4 operations and restart an autoclave, it takes more than 4 people. So I think that's one of the main items that we need to mark off, and it's our plan in the next week or 2, because we've already made some pretty key hires, but we just didn't formally announce it. So we're going to put out a bit of an update on where we are in filling some of our key positions here in the coming weeks. And I think people will be pretty surprised about the quality of the group that we're assembling here at i-80. And then, like you said, exploration is an important part. Right now, we sit 3rd in Nevada in terms of total gold resources. Number 1 is Nevada Gold Mines. Number 2 is Allied Nevada. What are they now?
I don't know.
I'm throwing a blank.
The key ones that I follow are you guys and
Yeah.
the
Well,
joint venture.
they have the old the old open pit project. I don't know why I'm throwing a blank right now.
Oh, no worries.
It's kind of, I'm going to tell you because I can't believe I'm throwing that blank here.
I've done that as well.
Highcroft Mining.
Okay.
So Highcroft, but they just announced that they shut down fairly low grade but big project in Nevada, challenging metallurgy. But if you look at the Carlin and Battle Mountain trends, we're number 2 to Nevada gold mines. We have more gold resources than SSR Mining, Kinross, and we want to grow. We actually want to surpass Highcroft, even though it's a big, very, very low grade resource. We do want to be officially number 2. So we've got 2 plus 20,000 meter drill programs going right now that will for sure, in my view, be adding a lot of ounces to our resource this year.
Well, and you and I don't think that's wishful thinking on you've done that over and over and over again in your career. So
yeah, the new horizon we're drilling at Granite Creek is going to add a lot of ounces. We're infilling an area that had a few historic holes and having a lot of success, very high grade. So I think we'll add a lot of ounces. The Buffalo Mountain or the Second Chance deposit is not in official 43101 resource. So it's our plan to upgrade that to 43101 here in the first half of this year. That's going to add ounces to our reportable inventory. And the Blackjack polymetallic deposit at Ruby Hill is not yet in resource. And it's our plan to model that during the course of the year, add a few holes, and that'll become a resource. So those two, my guess, will add 1-2 million ounces to our resource base, and won't take us very much of that before we pass Highcroft and become number 2. So I'm quite confident. That's why I'm sure you saw the press release Monday that I've been a big buyer of the stock, and I just know the success we're having in the company. We're a new company still, I think, being overlooked by the market. My target was to own 5 million shares, and I just bought them faster than I thought I would.
Well, the old saying in the market, insiders sell for a lot of different reasons, but they only buy for one.
Yeah, I think what we've created here in Nevada is very unique, and if you look at our track record, we started Wolf Den Resources, that it was taken over. We started Premier Gold Mines, it was taken over. Premier Royalties, it was taken over. So this is number 4, and if we ever, somebody ever approaches this company, I bet, then I can't buy any more stocks. So I better buy it now, is the way I look at it.
Well, I actually think this could be your biggest success to date. You and I mean, you look at the broad strokes, you've got, your goal is to get up to a 500,000 ounce producer. Your another goal is to increase your resources. And you've executed on those before. You're building the team, you've got the autoclave, you've got all the right hallmarks of what will get you there.
Yeah, and I kind of look at the history of Barrick and Newmont. They essentially got their starts in Nevada. Tahoe Resources, which was taken over, got their start in Nevada. Goldcorp, which is not around anymore, they really got their start in Nevada. So there's a lot of big senior companies have been grown out of success in Nevada. And I'd like to think that i-80 is just going to be the next senior mining company that was grown out of Nevada.
Well, and that the one that I kind of watched during my career was Barrick. They started out as a small producer in Nevada, became a bigger and bigger producer, and ultimately that launched them into top 2 gold focused companies in the world. And I just see a lot of similarities of the way you guys are going about it as a young Barrick.
Yeah, and the success of Newmont and Barrick has been such that if Nevada Gold Mines were its own company, it would be the 3rd largest producer in the world. So only Barrick and Newmont would be bigger. I think the combination of Kinross and Agnico will surpass it. So then it would be number 4. but it took two mid-tier producers to surpass a major complex of the two biggest producers. So Nevada's just it's just so well endowed with minerals, and it's such a favorable place to work. It's easy. The government's supportive of mining. If you go through northern Nevada, it's pretty desolate, and the only industry up there is really major industry is mining. There are casinos, etc. That are probably the miners after work go to those casinos up there, but really that the whole northern half of Nevada is supported by mining, and it's critical to the state, and you just see that in the way that the government interacts with you there, and that's why I-80 is just 100% Nevada. We're named after the highway that runs through the mining district.
You know, and something else you pointed out to me in the past, Ewan, is that Nevada endowment has, you know, for a long time, it's been focused on the oxides, and transitioning to the sulfides and being able to process that. There's only a few of those that can do that. One of them's the biggest. And now you guys also have that capacity to start moving into that deeper sulfide zones that, you know, with the right processing facility can be major winners as well.
Yeah, that's kind of when in Premier, because we had some of the assets we have right now in Premier prior to the takeover sort of mid last year by Equinox. But I think our Nevada portfolio we always felt was discounted because our McCoy Cove property, which is our tier 1 project there, is refractory. And the big question was, how do you process that? You need Nevada gold mines. And that was kind of a realization we had. The beauty of the deal we struck with them is not only do we get our own processing facility, however, it's going to take us about 2.5 years to get that facility retrofitted to meet our needs and restarted. But Nevada Gold Mines agreed that in the interim period, until we get it up and running, they will process up to 1,750 tons a day of mineralization from our sites to allow us to start development now. And that's why we're aggressively pursuing the construction of the Granite Creek underground mine. We announced at the end of the year our intent to go ahead with McCoy Cove. It's our intention to start the underground development of that here in the current quarter. And then by year end, we hope to be close to permitted to go underground at Ruby Hill. So by year end or early next year, we expect to have all 3 of our underground operations either producing or in development, so that when we start the autoclave, we are feeding it with sufficient ore that it's full. So we will be ramping up all 3 projects over the next 2.5 years, and that will allow us to start that autoclave again. And then the 4th project is the Buffalo Mountain open pit that came with the acquisition of Lone Tree. It was in the process of being permitted by Nevada Gold Mines. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
And we'll finish that permitting. And once we finish the permitting, then we will get it up and running.
So I guess what that deal did in a big picture way was really allow you to ramp things up a lot quicker than you had, you know, sort of formulating prior to that acquisition.
Yes, and when we launched i-80 public in April, part of the launch was we brought in the Granite Creek property from Waterton. It was under care and maintenance. The underground was just sitting there ready to be further developed. Waterton hadn't done anything with it since they acquired it out of bankruptcy. But however, they did keep it dewatered. And when i-80 launched as a public company, we were in negotiation for both the agreement for the processing and to acquire our own autoclave. So we felt that it was a project that'll fast track our ability to get to production. And we are going to have a solution to process the refractory ore. And so after we started trading, ultimately we announced here the deal's been done, but that had been under negotiation since February, and we went public in April. So it was already in the works.
But you kind of had to juggle a couple plans there for a while until it was solidified.
Yeah, and that ultimately put a lot of faith in our negotiation abilities that we were actually going to close it to take on Granite Creek. But we couldn't say that when we went public. Hey, we're in negotiations to acquire our own facility. So we just kept it quiet and proceeded, rehab the underground, start doing all the work, and basically we just had to tell investors, trust us, we'll get a solution.
Well, too bad you couldn't have said that, because that's what ended up happening. You and I have to be mindful of your time, and so I think we're going to be doing a lot of these in the near term. So let me close it off, and you can listen in if you'd like.
Sure.
Okay, there you go, folks. So as the biggest, the big picture here is that i-80 Gold is focused in Nevada, and they're focused on getting to that 500,000 ounce annual production number. If you look at their news release today, they laid everything out for you, including a scorecard, so that you can follow what they're doing and they can be mindful of that scorecard. Another thing I always recommend people to do is to do their homework. And one of the first things that I do when I look at doing my homework on a company is I go and look at their news releases, and especially their headlines of those news releases. And if you just go back to October, here's a list. i-80 Gold intersects high-grade gold in underground drilling at Granite Creek. i-80 completes PEA for Granite Creek. i-80 Gold intersects high-grade gold in expansion drilling at Granite Creek. i-80 Gold to proceed with underground program at McCoy Cove. December, i-80 Gold reports final results from phase 1 drilling targeting open pit mineralization at the Granite Creek Mine project in Nevada. i-80 Gold announces $12 million top-up subscription by Equinox. i-80 enters into a $135 million financing package for Nevada-focused mining complex. i-80 Gold CEO increases ownership to more than 5 million shares. And today, i-80 Gold launches comprehensive plan to create Nevada gold-focused gold mining company. As you can see, this company has an excellent news flow, and all of these things set themselves up for the next series of news flow. So I expect i-80 Gold to have lots to talk about in the first half of 2022. I also expect to have Ewan on plenty of shows, because I'm a big fan of Ewan and his team and i-80 and what they're doing to become a major producer of gold in Nevada and receive that Nevada premium. As always, my shows are for information purposes only. It's important for you to speak with your financial advisors and before making any investment decisions, and do your homework. Check out all those news releases, their corporate presentations. This company has a ton on the go. They've laid out a comprehensive checklist for you. So print that off and keep track of it, because I will. On that note, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.